Hey everyone, it's Chris from chrisbeatcancer.com, and boy, do I have something great for you today. I have an exclusive interview with Isaac Keim. Now, Isaac Keim is the grandfather of Sarah Hershberger. Now, some of you watching this are like, who are these people? Sarah Hershberger is the 10-year-old Amish girl that's been in the news because the Akron Children's Hospital is trying to force her to do chemotherapy against her wishes and against her family's wishes. And they're Amish, right? So they've actually fled the country to escape basically this tyranny, the government forcing chemotherapy on this little girl. And I was able to track down through just some serendipitous events, really God working, and I was able to get a telephone onto the Amish property to interview Isaac. Isaac is Sarah's grandfather. Now, here's the deal. They're Amish, so you can't take their picture, you can't do video, but he was willing to do a phone interview. The second thing is this story has been in the media and a lot of major media news outlets, but they are only telling one side of the story. They're only telling the side of the story as reported by the hospital's PR department. They have never interviewed the family. And so this is the family's version of the story, the truth. And so I'm super excited to have this. This is an exclusive. No one else has interviewed them. No one else has heard the family side of the story, and I've got it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go straight to the audio from our phone call. Listen, you'll be amazed and shocked and probably a little bit frightened at what this family has had to endure, and they need your help. They've got a lot of legal bills. As a result of the government taking them to court over and over and the hospital taking them to court over and over again. And the fight continues right now. And again, like I said, Sarah's parents and her have left the country and they're in hiding, but they need your financial support. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go straight to the call. Enjoy it. I look forward to reading your comments, and please consider following the links and donating to help this family. Thanks.
Isaac and Earl, thank you so much for being on this call.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome, Chris.
Okay, so Isaac, let's start in the beginning. How did this start with Sarah? What happened to Sarah?
Well, Sarah actually got a lump on her the left side of her neck in April. The parents were concerned. They took her to the Akron Children's Hospital. She was diagnosed with T-cell lymphoblastic lymphoma. And then they took CAT scans. They said they found a mass in her right down in the breast area. They found some cancer down in her body, in her two kidneys. They found traces of cancer, they said. So they said, this is a very aggressive kind of cancer, but it's very treatable with chemo. So their procedure was she needs a 27 months treatment of chemo. And then she's got an 85%, they got an 85% survival rate for 5 years. They only guarantee it for 5 years. So, and we knew that Sarah needed help. So we actually, the parents did let them start with the chemo. They said it's going to be a 27 months. It's going to be 5 phases of chemo. So they started with the first phase, which lasted between 4 and 5 weeks. And within about a week of time, the lump on her neck practically disappeared. You couldn't hardly see it anymore, but they stayed on the chemo in the first phase till that was over. But by that time, Sarah was doing so good, we were really thinking about, do we want to continue with this? The parents asked the grandparents about it, and she stayed in the hospital for a little over a week on the first, when they had started the first phase. There was almost 2 weeks in the hospital. So they could monitor. But then they let her come home, but she had to go back in every week to take this chemo. So when the first phase was done, they wanted to start with the second phase. The parents did not consent to it. They did not sign off, which they were supposed to start the second phase. But we were in the hospital. They were in the hospital. They actually just went ahead and started the second phase of it, which they had actually to put it in her spine. They made her sleep to put that in her spine. And then for 3 days after that, I think that treatment was for 7-8 weeks. They were supposed to have one shot like that. Then for each shot, for 3 days after that, they came out to the house and gave her another booster shot to enhance that. So they started that. The first shot, when they started the second phase, she got so sick from it that once they were at home, and the nurse came out to give her that booster shot. She brought it up along out for the 3 days when she first came, and she gave her that shot, and then she said, these other 2 shots you got to keep on ice, and you really got to be careful. None of the other kids touches that, get a hold of those shots, because it can cause cancer. So that really put a flag up for the parents, and and Andy just asked the nurse, "You mean that is what you're giving my daughter? Something that can cause cancer?" She realized she didn't. She made a mistake there. She wanted to smooth that over, but it didn't. It sure did not smooth over for us.
Let me just interject for a moment, because what you said, if people don't know, most cancer patients are not told that most chemotherapy drugs are also carcinogenic, which means they can cause cancer.
Yes, they did not tell us that. They did not inform us of that. But by mistake, probably that nurse, got that out for us.
What happened next?
But Sarah got so sick, she wasn't able to crawl out of bed by herself. She didn't want anybody to even touch her. She was so sick. She didn't eat. She couldn't eat, and she was just so sick for almost a whole week. So at that point, we had actually started on the National Nutrition already quite a bit. So after she was over the main hump of that first treatment, by the weekend she got better, and so the parents and the grandparents decided, we have to quit this. This is going to kill my granddaughter. So, but we had an appointment. They had an appointment to come back to the hospital for the next shot. So they wanted me to go along in and explain to the doctors why we want to stop. And the girl did not want to have any part of chemo anymore. She just refused it. She said, "I am going to refuse it. I'm not going to take it." But we went into the hospital. We got in there. They had everything set up, to put her to sleep and give this second shot. So we said, we want to talk with the doctor before we do any further procedure with Sarah. So the nurse told us, well, the doctor's just right outside the door. I'll get him in here. It took almost an hour to get this doctor ready, but then we had to go into a conference room to do this. When we got in there, there was, they had a lawyer in there. They had a couple nurses. They had the nurse that made the complaint. The public relationship people. They got those in, the doctor, and we knew we were up for a challenge there, but, and they had already had a hint, we're really considering maybe backing out on this chemo, but then, we started, Andy just told him, we have kind of decided we might quit this chemo. The girl don't want any part of it anymore. told him what this nurse said when she was out there with those booster shots. You know, that this, you got to watch because this can cause cancer. Don't let the other kids get a hold of it. And the doctor just popped up and said, the nurse should never say anything like that. Then I asked him, well, can it cause cancer? And he just went around in a couple circles and tried to smooth it off. And I told him, that did not answer my question. And I repeated it. Then he tried it again to over-smooth it. And I said, no, you have still not answered my question. I want to know if this can cause cancer. And then he said, you know, down the road it can. I told him, that's all I want to know. And then we just, know, basically said, we're going to stop this treatment. And then, the lawyer talked up, the doctor started talking, the nurses, the public relations guys, they just started talking, pounding on us. You know, this girl's going to die in a couple months if you don't keep up with this treatment. It is definitely going to die. And, well, we told them, you know, there's a higher hand than that. We know that. You don't know when she's going to die. But we just basically told her we're going to quit. We're going to go with the nutrition and that route because we've seen so many good results. And I told them actually what I've done. I know I've been diagnosed with cancer a year ago, and they said if I don't follow their procedure, you know, in 6 months, I'm in grave trouble. And I told him. When the doctor actually heard me start to say that story, he said, just shut up. We're not in, this is not connected with that case. Just shut up. But we basically told him it's, you know, the parents have decided not to go on with this. The girl wants no part of it anymore, and we are going to quit. So they actually said, well, you got to sign out of the hospital. And so we told them there's no problem. And they got the papers in. They really tried. They pounded on us probably for another half hour. But we just basically said it's our decision, and we're not going to let them take another treatment. We asked them we would be willing, you would actually monitor this girl. We would bring her in every month or every 2 months. You can monitor. If this girl gets sick or anything, we'd bring her right back in. But we know how she's doing on this nutrition we're using and all this support we've got for her. But they actually refuse to do that. They refuse to monitor this girl. If they cannot treat her the way they want to treat her. So the parents signed out of the hospital, and when we were done, the doctor just stood up and told us, you know, I can take you to court for this. This is child abuse. And basically, he didn't say, is he going to or not? We walked out of the hospital, and that procedure just started right away.
Now, it's amazing that they consider not taking chemo as child abuse, and yet poisoning children and putting in cancer-causing chemotherapy drugs, but that's not child abuse. It's an amazing contradiction in the belief system in the medical community that has basically evolved over the years, where they are so brainwashed and so ingrained that everyone has to take chemotherapy. And it no longer even is a matter of choice. Sarah's wishes didn't matter, did they?
No, that did not matter for them. They said she's a minor and she cannot make any decisions. And right. The parents are not doing what is of the best interest of the girl. She's on a very powerful nutrition program.
So you left the hospital. They told you you're basically guilty of child abuse. And again, for anyone just listening right now, Isaac, the man speaking, is Sarah's grandfather. His daughter, Anna Hershberger, is Sarah's mother, and her father is Andy. So Andy and Anna are Sarah's parents. Isaac, who's on this interview with me, is their grandfather. Okay, so what happened after you went home?
And they actually told us at the hospital they will not let us sign off unless we have an MD that is going to look after her. So we did get an MD to actually accept that part of it. We took him to this MD in Cleveland. I don't have all that information on me, but she did actually physically examine the girl, and they did accept the sign-off because of that, because we are in contact with an MD. And then they filed, actually they got this woman out of Ritztown. She was an attorney and supposed to be a nurse. Maybe you can actually look up her records, what she was. To file the court papers against the Hershbergers. She wants to be a guardian over this girl to make all her medical decisions, till she's 18 years old.
And this is a woman who's never met Sarah, correct?
Yeah, she's never met Sarah, no. Never met Sarah.
Right.
She's actually, I don't think she's ever talked to any Amish people before, so she definitely did not have a clue what she's getting into. She actually filed the court papers. She wants to be a guardian over this girl. And what actually made her eligible for this job was she's been appointed a guardian over people that were on life support for over a year, and they didn't have any relatives or anybody in any relationship to contact, to pull the plug. So basically, that is what made her eligible for this job, which we as parents and grandparents feel she's just more or less like a witch standing here, ready to grab this girl and pull the plug on her, because we basically know what her medical decisions are, is to get her back in there and chemo as quick as she can.
What is this woman's name?
Marie Schreimer is her name.
Okay.
She is also an attorney.
Yeah, she's an attorney.
Right.
She was at a university somewhere, or kind of like a teacher at a university. The background of her, it was what made her eligible was to go in and pull the plug on these people. So that's basically what we decided she wants with Sarah.
In other words,
that does not inspire confidence.
Yes.
So they took you to court.
Yes, they took us to court. They actually tried the Children's Service from Medina County to take the case so they can take it into juvenile court, but Children's Service refused to do anything. They said they're not going to do anything. So they actually ended up in probate court.
Child Protective Services actually agreed with you, and they believed that you had the right and that Sarah's parents had the right to make the best decisions for her, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Then what?
Then they filed it in the probate court. Andy and Anna, they were ordered into the court, and then an attorney, Dave Overholzer, he's a friend of us, decided he'll try and protect us in there. So Andy and Anna, they've been on the witness stand, and then the Dr. Botus, he was an oncologist that recommended this treatment in Akron Children's Hospital. He was in court. Marie Schreimer was in there. So actually, we did spend 3 days in court. Okay, the Judge Long, he actually, the first hearing, he actually completely favored us our way. He said the parents are definitely guardian over her, and tried to explain her that this is not a good procedure to set the strange woman to take care of this child, and the judge favored in our way. So, they actually went back to Children's Service from that because they didn't win, so they went back to Children's Service. They refused to do anything again. So they appealed it to the 5th District Court of Appeals, which is our district. 5 judges refused to do anything, so they went to the 9th District Court of Appeals, and then the 9th District Court of Appeals threw it back into the probate court and told the judge to reconsider that, do what is the best of interest for this girl. So we were back in the probate court again, and then the Judge Long ruled our way again, and he really explained to him why he rules our way, what this would cause for trauma for this family, and and the girls to have a guardian set over. So they were up for another challenge. So they tried to appeal it again to the 5th District Court of Appeals, and they refused again. So they went back to the 9th District Court of Appeals, and then the 9th District Court of Appeals basically ruled in their favor and ordered a new judge in the probate court in our county. They basically ruled, he got a rule in their favor to set this Marie Primer as guardian over this girl to make her medical decisions. So that is where we're standing today. Okay, and we basically knew that is what's going to happen. Our attorney told us, basically it is going to happen this time because they're going to, our judge is going to lose his job if he don't rule in their favor. Andy's and Sarah just disappeared. So that is where we're standing today.
I think that was a very smart decision by them to disappear.
Yeah.
But it's a very smart decision. This may seem like an unusual case, but it is not that unusual. And there is a documentary film, if you have not seen it, called Cut, Poison, Burn. And it is a very similar tragic story about parents of a little boy with brain cancer who wanted permission to get him treated outside of the United States, and the courts and the government refused to allow them to do that and forced them to give chemo treatments to their little boy, and it killed him. Yeah. And anyone out there that doesn't understand that this is possible and thinks this is crazy, it is not. It is real, and you need to watch the documentary Cut, Poison, Burn to educate yourself. Okay, so Sarah's parents fled the country. They took off. They took Sarah with them, and so now what?
So now, Children's Service is out here at least once a week looking for them. Just yesterday, they brought 2 sheriffs along out and are looking for her. We are asking around where's the parent. Now we've got another court case coming up for November the 6th. Basically, we don't know what's going to happen in there.
The subpoena was sent to Sarah's house that they got to appear in court on November 6th.
What does the sheriff's department think about all this?
The sheriff's department said they don't want no part of it. They want to stay out of it, they said. But they said some legal things they have to enforce, but they don't want any part of just doing anything, unless they are made to do it.
Right. So when Child Protective Services is against it, when the sheriff's department and the law enforcement is against it, there's something wrong.
That's right.
There's something very wrong.
It's all about a money thing for the hospital to have money. I don't know. I have no proof of this, but I have been told by several different people that the hospital, Akron Children's Hospital, was paid $1 million to win this case from a medical company. I don't know that to be true, but I have heard that.
But there's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of money at stake, and this would set a precedent because they do not want parents to be able to make decisions on behalf of their children. They want to be able to force therapies on children with or without the parents' permission.
Yeah,
and
that's what
why in the world would they do that? Well, because this is a money-generating machine.
Yeah.
The cancer treatment industry is a hundreds of billions of dollar industry every year.
Yes,
and chemotherapy drugs are very profitable. And that's what they do not want to interrupt or upset the status quo. They don't want people thinking for themselves. They don't want parents to think that they can use nutrition and natural therapies to heal like I've done, like you're doing, and so many people on my site have done that I've interviewed. And this is a big deal. It's a precedent. And because of the Internet, because of the free flow of information, more and more people are discovering that they have options besides surgery, chemo, and radiation for cancer. That they're learning that these therapies are destructive and they break the body down, and they do not heal cancer, and that only the body can heal cancer. And it's not about a cure. It's about healing, and it's about supporting the body's ability to heal. And the way you do that is through nutrition. You have to give the body what it needs to heal. And so I support, what you're doing, her parents' decision, and even little Sarah, who is smart enough to know that she's being poisoned and doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yes, Sarah she's very aware of the danger of chemo. She actually, the judge alone actually requested the one day at the court that we bring her along in. The judge actually had a private session with Sarah, and he really got a lot of respect for Sarah after that. And he definitely got the message that she does not want chemotherapy. She realized the long-term effects of that treatment and the danger of it.
There's a lot of money and influence pulling the strings behind the scenes, clearly, in this case.
Oh, it is. It is.
And we don't even know all the players. We only know some of the players. But clearly, this is not justice. When you have a judge and an appeals court that agree, and then something changes, and then they assign a new judge to get the result they want. That's basically dirty politics, dirty government. It's shameful, really.
It is.
So, and now there's a manhunt. How ridiculous to force a 10-year-old Amish girl to do chemotherapy. And by the way, how is her health today?
We actually, the parents took her to one of the top cancer treatment centers in America. And we took all her medical records along. Her last CAT scans and blood work that Akron done, they looked all over that. They done another CAT scan. They actually proved that those CAT scans completely clear that Akron actually took the last time. There was one time the judge ordered us to go back in and have her blood work and a new CAT scan just to see how she's doing. So we done that. That was, I think, in our second court trial. He ordered that. We took her back in. And they basically said, it's, we can see maybe a scar here and there, but that's it. And the blood work looks wonderful. We did ask the doctor, what are you going to do with Sarah if these tests completely show clear? If you get the okay to treat her? He said, I'm going to put her right back on chemo. And we asked, for what reason? Just for prevention?
Maybe we should all start taking chemotherapy for prevention.
That's exactly what we said. We should all go in there and start on chemo just for prevention.
From catching cancer.
Sarah had all her new CAT scans and all her blood work, more blood work than the Akron Children's Hospital ever did. They did not find one trace of any cancer at any spot. So
that's wonderful.
And she's a vibrant, healthy girl. And they actually, in this clinic, they had a treadmill there. They could speed it up to 10 miles an hour, and Sarah could whip that off for 15 minutes, just three times a day. She went on there without any problems. So she's got a lot of support there. She's definitely doing excellent. Beyond our expectations.
That's so wonderful. And by the way, I do want to be fair about this. Leukemia and lymphomas and testicular cancers respond better to chemotherapy than most cancers do. And it is entirely possible that those few treatments she did got rid of her cancer. Now, you understand this. Yeah. But just for anyone listening, I don't want to misrepresent, you or me. Even if that's the case, if that is what got rid of her cancer. Now, typically chemotherapy only gets rid of it for a short time, It's only a temporary solution. It doesn't address the root cause of disease. But the point is that this is about freedom. It's about the freedom of choice, the freedom that a parent has to make decisions for their child, medical or otherwise. And so this is not a big fight. It's a bigger fight about a parent's right to choose what's best for their child, what medical treatment is best for their child, versus whether or not chemo is going to help her.
Yes.
And that decision belongs to the parents and even belongs to Sarah. And so how can, for people listening that want to help your family, what can they do? Because I know you've probably got a lot of legal bills that have been very expensive that you need financial help support with, and we're raising money to do that, and I'll provide a link and tell people where to go to donate. What else can they do? Or is that the main thing?
That's basically, what, and we just really hope we can get this situation worked out, that the parents can come back. They've got another 6 children at home that needs care. They're definitely being taken care of at this point, but they all need to get back together and get their life back to normal. This has been
That's right.
horrifying.
And there will probably be more legal.
This has actually cost Andy a nervous breakdown. He was down. He wasn't able to work for at least 3 weeks. He finally kind of got back out of this, but it's definitely, it's horrifying. The stress and the hardship, they have costs for this family. You know, Akron Children's Hospital is supposed to be a health provider. They have almost destroyed the health of their parents by doing this.
I believe the stress, the anxiety, the worries, the fear. I absolutely, I would, if I was in their situation, I can't imagine how difficult going through this must have been for not only Andy and Anna, but for you and for Sarah too. And so I know there's a donation site that was set up by your son, Roy, and I'm going to give that link. It's at a website called Pledgie.com. So PLEDGIE, Pledgie.com /campaign, plural, campaigns /22540. Okay? Pledgie.com /campaigns /22540. That is the donation page to support the Hershberger family and help them offset the cost of their legal bills and fighting this ridiculous, unnecessary battle to make the best medical decisions that they can for their daughter, Anna. So I just want to encourage everyone listening, please visit this site. Please donate. Anything will help. $1, $100, $1,000. I know they will be very grateful for anything you can donate. And so far they've raised almost $3,000, but that's not near enough. I know that's not near enough. So I just want to encourage everyone out there listening to please be generous. I will be also making a donation and help these people. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I basically told my story on it. Yeah, and it's really been tough on the grandparents, and our heart is for this little girl. She's a very, very intelligent little girl, and she realizes what's going on. Definitely.
Well, I don't believe
I can say that if you would see this little girl, if you would come to their house, not even know who she is, and just watch her, you could not tell there's anything ever wrong with this little girl. You'd absolutely, she's so playful, so joyful, and she just seemed like a wonderful little girl, and she's always, and I understand she was doing very well at school, above average in school.
That is wonderful. It is so great to hear.
And they are destroying her school year too by doing this. She's definitely doing lessons, where she's at, but she's not in school. and the school greatly misses her.
Well, I'm convinced that there is no one that cares for Sarah more than her parents and her grandparents, that no one is more qualified to make decisions on Sarah's behalf than Sarah's parents and grandparents and her family, the people that have raised her and cared for her and nurtured her. These are the people that are ultimately responsible to God for the decisions they make on Sarah's behalf. And I believe that you understand the gravity of that full well, don't you?
Yes, we're praying to God every day that this thing can get settled and we can get back to a normal life.
Well, I'm confident and looking forward to see what good things come out of this interview we've done by spreading your story and telling your story. Because, by the way, the media has not told your story. The media has only told the story from the reports of the hospital. And all the news reports were biased and slanted towards the hospital's PR department. And they're not telling the real story, which you just told us today. So now it's going to get out.
We know that. Yes, we knew that.
Right.
The information out there.
Like I said, I have called the television stations about this and asked them to come and interview the parents so they can get the other side of the story too. It's not fair to just put one side of the story out there and not interview the parents. And their reply to me was, well, they don't want us to put them on camera, so we don't want to interview them. That was their reply to me about that.
Right. That's a cop-out. Obviously, you're happy to tell the story, and he's done it. Yeah. You just told it. So, the media is not interested in hearing your side of the story.
That's right.
Well, it's going to get out, and I'm excited. And everyone listening, please consider supporting these people. Make a donation. I'm going to add some details on Sarah's nutritional protocol and what they're doing below this audio clip. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link to the page on Chris Beat Cancer, and we'll put everything there along with updates to the story as they come available. Okay, well, this is Chris from Chris Beat Cancer signing off. Thank you, Isaac, and thank you, Earl. May God bless you. You will be in my prayers for sure.
Thank you.